Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and we are back. And what are we getting into? We're getting into Love is Blind season 5, and we are now on episode 9. I will be back soon enough with Married at First Sight, but as you know, it kind of each one takes their turn, but I know there's a few episodes that I need to catch up with Married at First Sight, but I will be back on those come this weekend. But before we get into Love is Blind, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. And let's talk about this episode, shall we? So as we have it, we know that Lydia and Milton and Izzy and Stacey go get their marriage licenses. Don't you like think it's a little bit sad that out of all the couples that literally went through this process, only two survived. Never mind the ones that like we didn't get to see, because apparently there was ones going on in the process as well, but we didn't get to see any one of those because, you know, situations happened where they didn't even either make it to the altar in that sense. I was kind of shocked that I saw Renee up with the pod squad when they were getting their wedding dresses, but if you clocked it, when the men were getting their suits together, you don't really see Carter, because I didn't see Carter anywhere where the men were, to be honest with you. So Stacey's mum was basically talking about Izzy and saying that she had to dig deep and to get to know him, and the family basically have welcomed Izzy. They love Izzy and think that he is the balance that Stacey needs. Me myself, I don't see it. That's all I'm going to say. Me, myself, I don't see it. There's too many issues for them to overcome in order for them to be easy with each other. I don't know if it's them giving themselves lip service, like portraying themselves a certain way to come across on TV. But when they talk to each other and they talk about their emotions and how much they love each other and I just literally want to shut off, like literally want to close my eyes and go to sleep, because that's how boring they are to me. That is how boring Izzy and Stacey are to me when they're together. Like seriously, I don't see it. I really don't see it. So the one thing I did notice though with this wedding thing is Stacey had a bedazzled jacket or a diamante jacket, whichever way you want to put it, where she put Mrs. I think his last name is Zapata, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong. She put Mrs. Zapata on the back, and I'm like, okay, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself, aren't you? You're getting a little bit in there, gung-ho in it, getting the experience that you want to get in that sense. So basically, it moves to the guys section, and all the guys are there like getting ready. They've got their friends with them as well, and Milton speaks on his relationship with Lydia, and I would agree with Milton. Them two just relate with each other on a different kind of level. Like they really relate on a different kind of level. The things that they talk about is not what every other couple would speak about. They are unique unto themselves, especially when you've got someone that has exact same interests as you, kind of studied the same things as you. So when you're talking in your nerd way and you're talking about your rocks and your formations, that person knows exactly what you're talking about, and you get each other. That does not come along every day. That really does not come along every day. The one thing I did notice about Milton is when you saw him with his like family, he was quite quiet and very uncomfortable and didn't really speak out. But when you see him with his friends, it's kind of like he's in his bubble, he's in his safe space, so he becomes quite talkative, he becomes quite animated. And all I'm going to say for them two, for Milton and Lydia, is I hope and pray. That was me. I hope and pray that they say yes to each other, because I do see them two as a couple working. So then we get to the last dates, right? So Izzy was talking about how like Stacey's family has talked about how she likes to go first class on stuff in private jets, or like be first class on a plane. So, excuse me. So he decided that he was going to hire a World War II plane. I mean, for a little event and for a little jaunt, a little excursion, I understand. But for a date, but then Stacey kind of appreciated that in that sense. But then I think to myself, well, it isn't necessarily them that's setting up the final dates, is it? It's the show. It's the show that pays for it at the end of the day, isn't it not? I'm trying so hard not to bag on these two, like really trying so hard not to bag on these two, but I just don't, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. The whole date just seemed off to me. Even down to the dancing, they were not in time with each other. They were not in sync with each other. And then you've got Stacey basically telling him that, like, he is calming for her. And when she was going listing all his other attributes, my girl couldn't get her words out. Like, she got stuck halfway in between. And I'm like, really, Stacey? Are you really telling the truth, or you're just saving face here? You're saying what feels good and you know what he wants to hear you say. So are you really feeling those words? Because me as a viewer, I ain't feeling those words. I'm not feeling nothing used to are putting out to each other. And then she turns around and says that he's a mellow type of person. My guy was cried in the cupboard like a freaking banshee. How the fuck is he mellow? Somebody tell me, how the fuck is he mellow? Because there's no way that man is mellow. Which part of him mellow? Somebody tell me. Answers on a postcard. Which part is he mellow? That's what I'd like to know. So then basically they talk about like families and the fact that, you know, Stacey's telling him that her family is quite open to him and they feel really close to him. I'm like, they've only met the dude twice. How did they form that evaluation of him? Because they're going off of what you say, Stacey. They're going off of how you behave with him, Stacey. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they feel the same things that you feel, but they could be just falling into line because you say you feel these things. I don't see you feel these things, but you say you feel these things for him. So Izzy was talking about how whole chunks of his family won't be at the wedding at all because he doesn't want any opinions out there that he'll be judged on in regards to his family. And I'm like, oh, there must be a little story there. Something is missing there in the fact that there's a lot of family members that he is not going to invite to the wedding because they'll basically judge him for finding a wife in the way that he's found a wife. I'm like, it's got to be something more than that though. Like, seriously, it's got to be something more than that. Because if my family member came to me and said to me, oh, I'm getting married, but this is how I'm going to do it, I will look at them like they've lost the fucking screw. I will look at them like they've lost the screw. And they know I will look at them like they've lost the screw. And I will ask all the questions. But I'll more than likely still be there for them in that sense. I'll know they could invite me to the wedding. But enough said about that. So then you see Milton meet his sister Jessica. And Jessica's trying to get a feel of Milton and why he likes Lydia so much and why he's going down this path, because she doesn't see the connection that everybody else sees between them at the end of the day, and she thinks that he's just jumping headfirst into something that he's not really thought about. And basically, as Milton confirmed, he has an analytical brain, so things that we would not normally think about, best to believe that Milton's probably plus, equaled, minus and divided everything at the end of the day and come with his reasonable answer, because that is Milton. So he's basically saying that with Lydia it feels intense and it was better than he expected, and he just looks at like their family dynamic as well, because Lydia's family is they're very together. They're not like his family where everybody's quite standoffish. They will say what they mean, but there's not really that emotional warmth, whereas Lydia's family, there's a lot of emotional warmth and they are there for each other in that respect. So his sister was kind of highlighting the fact, like, is he ready? And Milton was basically saying that he's ready. And basically he was relying on that gut feeling that was telling him he's ready. And this is the thing, your little spidey senses, you may call them, your little gut intuitions, you always follow those if you need to follow those, because they do not steer you wrong. So I'm with Milton on that one at the end of the day. So his sister was then turning around and saying that she says that people think it's fake. So Milton responded with, it's what our mum always said. your perception is your reality at the end of the day. So his perception of how things are is not going to be the reality of everybody else around him. Everybody's going to perceive something to be something when it's not, because they're not living the life that Milton is living and they're not walking in his shoes. That's essentially what Milton is saying. So basically, as again, he brought up the fact that he does have an analytical mind and he thinks everything through, and he has weighed up his options carefully. And basically he just felt that Lydia would be someone that will make him more vulnerable and more open and be able to grow in the emotional warmth department, because that's what he wants. He wants to be able to open up to someone the way that Lydia's able to open up to him. Now, don't get me wrong, I am bagging on the sister, because at the end of the day, she's looking out for her little brother. She's looking out for her little brother. So I ain't bagging on the sister in any way, shape or form, because I'd be the same way. I'd be asking the same questions in that regard. And basically, Milton was saying that they're there for the same reason. They love each other. And basically, the sister was saying, well, the family's going to be there. At the end of the day, they may not like the way he's going to bait things, but they're going to be there for him on his day. So then you get back to Stacey and Izzy, and they're kind of moving out of the home, and it's kind of off between them, and some subject is coming up. Now, this is my only pet peeve about this, is because it's happened before, like with Uche when he was talking to Lydia, and they go around about the subject, and you're sitting there thinking, well, what the hell is it? What the hell are you talking about? Like, seriously, because you're going around the subject. And then Stacey was unhappy in regards to the information that Izzy gave her in regards to his credit rating. So he's then saying that, you know, he's only like $3,000 or something in debt. He paid that debt off, but his credit rating is still bad. And I'm kind of like, Stacey was kind of like, well, she's had those questions, those discussions with him before, and she's asked him those questions and he's not been forthcoming. Like, she spoke about the finances, she spoke about where she was, she spoke about what she expected in regards to a man coming into her life around the finances and everything like that, and not once did Izzy open his mouth and say, you know what, there's something that we need to discuss when it comes to finances. It wasn't until, like, she'd asked him about why he doesn't have any credit cards, and he didn't really say anything at that point. And then it wasn't until the night before they then have to separate in order to get ready for the weddings that Izzy decides to tell her that he's got a bad credit. Now, wouldn't this be something that you'd bring up in the beginning? Because it ain't like Stacey shied away from talking about finances at all. You know where Stacey is financially. She needs to know where you are financially, because at the end of the day, as they say, having bad credit really isn't a bad thing. It just makes things a little bit harder in which to purchase stuff and in which to get stuff, especially when it comes to the interest rates. But I think all that Stacey wanted, as she said, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the fact that he couldn't get a credit card or anything like that. She wanted the point blank openness and honesty from him, because it wasn't like she didn't ask him time and time again, and he picked the moment that he was going to tell her this before they separated. Because bearing in mind, if they had got married, she definitely would have found out. But I will bring up, during that whole conversation, it's like the last conversation where he went and started crybabbing in a cupboard. He put the situation on Stacey and basically said that he didn't want to feel like he's walking around on eggshells with her in order to tell her things. And I'm like, this is it in a nutshell. Because my thing is things are going to come up in a relationship, in a marriage. Things are going to come up. How are you going to have those hard conversations if you can't have a conversation now about these things? How are you going to have those hard conversations and then work through it if you're constantly then going to be saying, oh, it's because of you that I won't say anything, it's because of you, because of this, because of you? That's what Izzy does. He doesn't really take any responsibility for his own actions. So when Stacey keeps on bringing up something that is an issue for her that he does, he don't take no responsibility for it, because he pushes it back onto Stacey and says, well, I feel like I'm walking around on eggshells with you and I can't be open sometimes in order to tell you what I need to tell you. How is that going to work within a marriage? Like, really truly, how is that going to work within a marriage? So then we see Milton and Lydia have their final date. Nice place, lovely place. Now the date started off okay. It started off okay until Milton brought up the situation with Lydia in terms of how emotional she got with the situation with Uche, and believed that she shouldn't have got so emotional and shouldn't have let no one take her peace in the way that he did. He didn't like that. And I'm kind of like, I'm hoping the cracks weren't starting to show with these two, because I was shipping these two, to be fair. So I was hoping the cracks weren't starting to show, but I don't think Uche, I was going to say Uche then, but I don't think Milton actually thought about the impacts that Uche has had on Lydia in the past and now in the present. So for you to expect her not to show some type of fucking tumultuous emotion is beyond me. I don't know how in that moment, when someone's accusing you of really fucking shitty stuff, like he was accusing her of stalking, really shitty stuff, that you are going to stay cool, calm and collected in the face of that. Because I know I wouldn't. I would want to drag that man to hell and back, because I know I would not be able to stay calm. So for Milton to try and put how he would react in that situation onto Lydia wasn't very fair of Milton, is what I would say. But you lot can let me know what you think, but that's how I'm thinking. I don't think it was very fair of Milton to box Lydia into this little box in terms of how he expected her to behave in that situation. Because at the end of the day, when he was talking to her, although he was trying to make sense, it was coming off rather judgy. That's how I see it. It was coming off rather judgy. And then you end up seeing then Lydia then moving from the table and literally crying. And my thing is this man still sat there and ate his meal like nothing a go on. He sat there and ate his meal like nothing a go on, while his woman was literally at the back crying her fucking heart out. And I was like, is he not even going to get up from the table and go and see if his woman's all right? Like, she's crying. You're not going to go and check on her? No, Milton didn't move a bean. Milton did not move a bean. Lydia comes back to the table, still has the tears in her eyes, and they're having a chat. And Milton is as calm as you please. Like, and I'm like, this must be how he reacts and kind of integrates himself when he's with his family. This must be how he oh, I can't say the word. What's the bloody word? How he behaves, that's the word. How he bloody behaves when he's with his family. Because he literally showed nothing, not a rotted bean. He wasn't even moved by the upset of Lydia, because again, in his bloody mind, he was probably thinking, here she goes again, going off the deep end. She needs to control that. No, you can't control your emotions in that way. It's not healthy. So then, once Lydia's calmed, you see Lydia apologize, and I'm like, my girl, why you, like, I was like, what is she apologizing for? Because there was nothing to apologize. You showed your emotions. You should be able to be in a safe space in order to show your emotions how you want to show them. Unless you're not freaking hurting somebody, you have the right to show your emotions. Not everybody can be stone-faced like Milton. Not everyone can be stone-faced like Milton at the end of the day. And it was at this point that I was like, is Milton actually sabotaging this relationship? Like, did the comments of his sister and his family get to him that he's literally sabotaging this relationship with Lydia? The best thing that he would ever get in that sense. I was like, please don't do this, because I really want to see these two together. And it was at this point that I was thinking, you know what? None of these fuckers are going to get married in this place. It was at that point that I was like, none of them are going to get married in this place. None of them. Anyway, that is where I'm going to leave it for episode 9, and I shall be straight back with episode 10. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I am back on and doing videos. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.